I'm Shahar Azani, and in the news, as the US continues to experience social unrest, Israel's National Civic Service may offer a solution. The past few months in the US have not been easy. Between the pandemic, social unrest in various cities, and the looming elections, tensions in the country seem to be on the rise. The United States is a celebrated nation of immigrants, with people arriving in the country in pursuit of a better life and for many other reasons, from the colonial period onwards. It boasts great human diversity within its population, and this in turn creates waves of tensions, sometimes beneath the surface and other times exposed for all of us to see. The state of Israel faces a similar situation. As a young nation of immigrants, Jews have come to Israel from all over the world, from the US to Europe, from Russia to Yemen to Morocco and Argentina. This too has caused internal social tensions, which the country had to face and find ways to overcome. One such solution we would like to present before you today: Israel's Sharut Leumi, National Civic Service. It is an alternative, voluntary national service in Israel for those who cannot or do not wish to serve the obligatory service in the IDF, the Israel Defense Forces. It was born as an exemption for the obligatory army service for Jewish women from the religious Zionist sector, and they receive it by declaring religious observance. However, over the years it has evolved and become a significant tool for social cohesion and bonding, as members of Israeli society, whom otherwise would never interact, find themselves working together, shoulder to shoulder, getting to know each other while serving their nation. To discuss this topic and elaborate further, we are very lucky to have with us today Reuven Pinsky. Reuven Pinsky is the Director General for Israel's Authority for National Civic Service. A few words about Reuven. He was born in Pennsylvania. He made Aliyah to Israel at a very young age with his family. Reuven has been a civil servant in Israel for over 20 years, with positions such as Special Advisor to Israel's Minister of Tourism and Head of the Development Authority in the Old City of Jerusalem. He has served in his current position for almost 2 years. We even get to see him every once in a while here in New York, as he comes here from time to time to serve as cantor for different communities during high holidays. Reuven is married, and he is a proud father of 6. Reuven, it's a pleasure to have you with us today, and thank you so much for joining us.
It's great to be with you tonight.
So first of all, how are you? How are you doing in these troubling times, this incredible summer?
So it's crazy times ever since March. For me specifically, my oldest daughter just got married in a special Corona wedding with 20 people.
Mazel tov!
Yeah, Baruch Hashem, and I had a bat mitzvah with another 20 people. So I was very lucky to have a lot of very interesting events in my personal life. And in Israel, you know, is a very complicated situation. For the first wave of handling with the coronavirus, we did very well. And now it's a little more difficult. So it's difficult times, but as always, we're optimistic and we're ready to do as much good as we can do.
Wow. You said something about the family events you had, and again, Mazel Tov. It's definitely,
Yeah.
These are definitely events to remember. Have you or your family been impacted at all by COVID-19?
So we had one quarantine, all the family together, because my niece got corona, but Baruch Hashem, we were all healthy. And you know, one interesting thing with the quarantines, if you get all the family and with our new Khatan in the family, so we had a whole week together. You can't run away anywhere. You can't go to the mall, go to a restaurant, go to the movies. You can't go to work. You stay home. And, you know, we found that we love being together, even if it takes a whole week, 24/7. So it was a very interesting and good chavaya for all of us to be together.
Terrific. So happy to hear. And I'm sure so many of our viewers who are listening to you are inspired by what you are just saying. Um, so let's touch upon the topic. You know, the United States has been going through some tough times recently, and which brought about this opportunity to speak to you. And let's talk a little bit about the National Civic Service in Israel. Maybe share with our viewers a little bit about the history. How did it come to be? What is it exactly?
So the National Civic Service in Israel was established approximately 50 years ago by an NGO called Aguda Litnadvut, a Rabbi Tzfania Drori, who had young girls that wouldn't go to the army because of their religion. And he decided to build an alternative for the army and bring them to do national service. That the first few girls did mostly education, youth organizations and things like that. And with the years, from those few girls that were Jewish religious, it became to be a national thing. And the state of Israel took responsibility.
So wait,
And
let me stop you there for a minute. It didn't begin as a governmental initiative. It started as a grassroots initiative?
yes, and the government approved it, of course, because it's an alternative to the army service, to the national service in the army. And in Israel, it's a duty. It's not, you don't choose to go to the army, you have to go to the army. So, of course, the government approved it, but it's a grassroots thing that started from the NGOs in Israel. And with the years, upon the years, more and more NGOs started dealing with national service. And more places started to understand what a great thing it is. And you can see now almost every person who needs anything, some kind of help. If he's a old person that needs someone to just come and talk to him, if you're in the hospital, if you need in special needs, in any civil field, you will find probably a bat sherut or a ben sherut right next to a person like that. And upon the years, the government decided to join this and built a special authority in the government.
Before we touch on the authority, you're talking about girls serving there, boys serving there. Is it still, so, and it started as a grassroots, is it still a voluntary service, or do you have to go on Sharut Leumi?
No, it's voluntary. And because it's voluntary, I think this is one of the main reasons we now have 5,000 young girls and boys or youth from the Arab community doing national service, which is an amazing thing. Some of them have are not even being called to the army, most of them. We have ultra-Orthodox doing Shirut Leumi, and we have from all the different segments of the population in Israel, anyone can do Shirut Leumi. The only thing is you have to have a relief from the army, that the army says that you don't have to come, or that he didn't call upon you, and then you can volunteer for national service. And really, if you have the strength of the country, the resilience, so you have the resilience that has to do with security, and that the army takes care of. But the national, I'd say, civil resilience, community resilience, the national service became a very central player in this field.
So the communities you mentioned are those that don't usually join the IDF. You're talking about, it started as the religious Zionist girls, and then you mentioned the ultra-Orthodox, the Haredis, you mentioned the Arab sector, and you mentioned everyone and anyone who gets exempted from the IDF obligatory service and may choose, not have to, but choose to take part in this national effort of giving back to the state of Israel. How long is, if I choose to volunteer for National Civic Service? How long is my service? Is it like the
So
Army?
the minimum is 12 months because we want it to be something that is reliable. So you have to, even though you volunteered, but if you didn't stay for 12 months, so you don't get credit for it. And up to 3 years by the ultra-Orthodox and 2 years in all the other fields.
Wow. And it's amazing to hear because these are communities that won't usually interact when you talk about Haredis or secular or Arabs. And that leads me to, I'm very curious because a few weeks ago, we had on this show Yusuf Haddad, who a Christian Arab who told us that he's doing a lot to encourage such service within the Arab sector. So how does that work and what do you do there? And what kind of reactions do you get from Arab Israelis who take part in the service?
So at the end of the day, and without, of course, going into politics, at the end of the day, these young people want to have a good opportunity for their lives. And they just come because what happens is people that finish the national service, they get special rights and credits from the government. They get special scholarships for going for academic studies. And at the end of the day, if you in an Arab community go to a hospital and help someone, or you go to a welfare organization and help people with needs, or you go to old people, there's no politics in it. Now, some of the politicians would talk against it and they'll say, listen, it's contributing to the state of Israel, but the young people know the truth. And they just come. And in 10 years, we grew from 50 to 5,000.
Wow.
And I think that in the next 10 years, we won't grow as much, but we'll keep on growing. And what we'll do is bring more and more interesting jobs, volunteering places for these young people. And that gives them a chance for a much better life, better job in the future because they become to be part of the Israeli society. And this could be an amazing project with no politics, just giving these young people an opportunity to be part of the Israeli population.
So that's what excites me about this when I listen to you, because I think it's very much applicable to many aspects of life here in the United States. But I still want to ask you, when you talk about ultra-Orthodox youth who are joining the National Civic Service, where would they go, including the Arab Israelis, and then talk about, secular or religious Israelis? Where do they serve? What do they do in the course of 1, 2, 3 years of National Civic Service?
So there's a very big variety of things that they could do. Starting from education, a lot of the young people go to schools, to high schools, to youth organizations, to those areas. We have a lot of young people going to the welfare organizations, all the variety. They do such tough jobs sometimes. And when someone comes to a young person that was just thrown out of his house or something else terrible, and he has a young person, 19, coming to him and telling him, I'm your friend, I can help you overcome. It's a totally different aspect. We have them in hospitals. We have them even in special high-tech now, in cyber and special security fields that we don't talk about a lot. And more and more governmental entities understand that these young people bring such a different spirit, such a special way of doing, and they're so obligated. So these young people now are in the justice ministry and in the finance ministry. And in a lot of the ministries themselves, they come in and do great service. Now, some of these people are from areas that wouldn't get this chance if they couldn't come through the national service. Some people that, for sure, from the Arab community and the ultra-Orthodox, but also others that are from periphery that didn't get the chance. And now they all of a sudden have a chance. We give them housing in the center of the country, and they get a chance to be to see and to give from themselves to places that they never thought they could give. And there's very interesting stories. Like I had one young girl, not a girl, I don't know exactly, but a young person, a woman, that she is almost deaf. And the army wouldn't take her because he doesn't need people that from that disability. And she decided that she wants to teach young people that have problems with hearing how they can overcome, like she did. If she comes to do national service, and she's a young person, she's not paid for, she's not a teacher, she's not a staff member, she's sort of a staff member, but more like a youth.
Right.
So what she gives these young people is totally different. And
They see themselves in her, which is, I think, the great strength.
now we have special need people doing Shirut Leumi, doing national service. I went to this amazing hospital called Alen Negev.
Mm-hmm.
It's in Be'er Sheva.
Right.
And I had a tour there, and all of the people are on wheelchairs. And I speak to each one of them. And then I approached one of them and I said, nice to meet you. What's your name? So he says, listen, I'm a national service guy. I'm not one of these guys. And he's in his wheelchair talking to these guys and telling them, listen, you can be the one that gives the other, even though you're in need. And it's a great message to these young people. And as I said before, anywhere you find someone with a need in Israel, with something missing, you'll probably find a national service young person holding his hand and helping him overcome.
So this is such an inspiration. It was born as grassroots. It's an opportunity to engage. They're giving back to the country. They get to know each other. And I just want to ask you in this regard, you are heading the authority on National Civic Service, and you're mentioning several non-for-profit NGO associations who are handling different aspects of it. So how does that package work? What is your role? What is their role? How do the volunteers get to you? How do they get to be assigned? Maybe explain the process a little bit.
Okay, so in general, the grassroots, the NGOs, there are like three different degrees. There's the place that the young person goes and volunteers in. It's a school or whatever.
Such as Alen Negev.
Such as Alen Negev, or just a regular school. Right. We have almost 4,000 young people volunteering in schools. This school could be part of an NGO, a big NGO, or part of a governmental entity. And there are NGOs that run the service itself. So we have 8 of those and 1 for the ultra-Orthodox. And the state regulates this whole field. So we have like 4 different degrees of NGOs, of entities dealing with the national service. And we regulate from what the state has to do and the different ministries have to do. And until the school itself, we have our people going there, checking that everything is running the right way. It's very, very complicated because it's not just come and volunteer. We have to be with the volunteers, help them, see what their needs are. If someone is being mean to them, we have to take care of it. If they're having real problems, sometimes mental problems. So all of these things are taken care of and regulated by the government. So actually we have sort of an army, a civic army, right, of 18,000 volunteers, and we are regulating them through the NGOs. What's so important with having the NGOs inside is these are things that government and state don't know how to deal with the specific school and class at the end of the day. So that's why we have all these organizations in the middle. We collaborate with them. Some of the things we regulate, some of the things we're partners. And another very important thing, a part of regulating and budgeting this whole field, is also trying to prioritize. This is a new thing that we're doing now. We're building a new strategy for national service, trying to prioritize what is more important. Now, I just spoke about the fields that we are volunteering in, and these fields you have to prioritize because you always need more hands in hospitals. But what do I need more? Because I have 18,000. Let's say we'll have 25,000. I can put all of them in hospitals. I can put all of them in schools, and I could put different numbers of young people in different places. So what we're trying to do now is a national prioritizing of this whole field of national service. It's very, very interesting. It's the first time the state of Israel is doing it. And we hope for the best.
It's incredible. So you supervise, you regulate, and you support, not only through the professional assignments, but also what you mentioned briefly before is kind of a GI Bill. Once these volunteers come out to their civilian life, so to speak, you support them with grants, with support for academic studies. You equip them to begin a successful life in society.
Yes, we try our best.
This is extremely important. So maybe share with us your hopes, your goals for the future. What would you like to see as you continue to lead the authority forward?
So there are a few things. One of them is to try and bring to more significant volunteering. Some of the volunteers do a job that is not as significant as it could be. Now, if we look at what schools used to be and what schools are today, 50 years ago and today, or hospitals, we have to change the jobs of the volunteers. And if someone used to be in the hospital just running and bringing food to the people, which is very important, but now we want them more to be assistants to doctors, assistants to nurses, to gentrifize all of the jobs of the volunteering in the Shirut Leumi. We would want to see much more ultra-Orthodox joining. We want more from the Arab society and Druze and Christian. When I say Arab, I mean all of those societies joining and doing very interesting things that bring them to take part of the Israeli society. And I have big dreams with the diaspora.
So tell us a little bit about that. How, and that'll be a great point to conclude with for our viewers. Is any of what you just mentioned relevant for anybody sitting at home now thinking to themselves, as an American Jew, I'd like to give back. My kid wants to come and volunteer. Is any of this possible?
So it goes to two directions. One direction is we send every year 120 young people that do their second year of national service in the diaspora, in the different communities. They all do education, Hebrew learning, and they do all the Independence Day and all the special Chagim, the holidays of the Jewish people, in the schools, in the communities. It's an amazing project, and each girl like that, each young person like that goes to a community has a great effect on them. This year we had to bring them back in the middle of the year when Corona just started, and for the coming year, unfortunately, I can't send them again. But what we did is now we built a special division with the diaspora ministry, and they will do all the things that they used to do, but through digital platforms, through Zoom. And we will fund it fully, and they will keep on working with their communities in diaspora. So that's from one way. The other way we have now, whoever wants to do Aliyah and wants to be a Ola Chadasha, they can come to Israel and they can join the national service and get all these special credits, grants, and whatever, and to give back to the country. That's one thing. And the second thing, it still has to be legislated. We're waiting for a decision of the Knesset, but we want any young person from diaspora that wants to come and do national service in Israel. He could, and he doesn't have to, if he comes, he doesn't have to go to the army, to join the national service and come to teach English or to be in a hospital or to be in welfare organizations and to give back, as I said, to give back to the country of Israel. So we hope very much that it's going to go through the coming few months. It has to deal with it has to do with the political situation, if they're gonna have Knesset or not. It has to be voted upon in the Knesset. So we're waiting for a long time for this, but this is ready. And when it will start, we hope to bring 500 young people to do national service in Israel, going back and saying, I did national service. At the end of the day, if they will want to make Aliyah, they will get all the credits and all the benefits that they would have got if they made Aliyah before. I really believe in this program in strengthening the connection. It's so significant to deal with the connection between Israel and diaspora. One of the things, what I said before, with canceling the young people going to diaspora this year, is we have to not to take responsibility, but be maybe accountable to the Jews in diaspora. And the Jewish state can't just say, so this year we have Corona, we won't do anything. I believe that we have a combined destiny, and we have to be Kol Israel Arevim Ze Lazeh. So we have to do Tikkun Olam altogether. What I said before, what we do in national service is big Tikkun Olam, but also we have to do for our brothers and sisters in diaspora, both ways, sending people there and bringing people to do national service in Israel. So that's also a big dream, and we believe that it'll be very interesting and successful.
Reuven, that's beautiful and beautifully said and stated, because there is nothing more important than strengthening the bond between diaspora Jewry and the state of Israel. And to hear the way you do it, strengthening social cohesion within Israeli society, but at the same time not forgetting to do the same with brothers and sisters across the world, is incredibly inspirational. I'd like to thank you. Please keep us posted. Once that passes in the Knesset and that option is offered, we would love to share that with the greater American Jewish community.
Will do.
I'd like to thank you for your time and wish you all the best in the wonderful work you do.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Reuven. Thank you for joining us and for giving us hope and enlightening us with such a success story, which helped Israel become what it is today. We join you in hoping to see Israel progressing more and more in positive directions, and share the hope for such social cohesion here, so direly needed in the US as well. Thank you all for joining us. We hope you find our content interesting and relevant in providing you not only with the problems, but also with solutions, widening and opening the horizons to understanding what could be done, not only the problems we are facing. From all of us here at JBS, we wish that you all stay safe, stay healthy, and most importantly, stay happy in this so special summer we're all having. I'd like to thank our director, Sloan Copeland, JBS's managing director, Dara Golob, our technical manager, Michael Paley, transmission manager, John McDevitt, and to our producer of In the News, Carol Lilienthal. For JBS, I'm Shahar Azani. Until next time, see you soon, shalom, and להתראות.